Are your responses to questions 6 and 7 for paper 1, IGCSE, Edexcel English language slightly letting you down? Are you not exactly sure how to write a letter to a magazine? Get higher grades, stay tuned. This is Schofield on Shakespeare.
The mark scheme is looking for the right tone, perceptive and subtle communication, extensive strategic vocabulary, and accuracy. Before we look at the exam question, let's read through some actual letters to magazines. Press pause on each one as it appears on screen, read and think. However, this particular task seems to require something slightly different. Rather than responding to something from a previous edition of the magazine, it wants a standalone letter aimed at teenagers rather than adults interested in current affairs. And so, for this particular task, I would recommend the following. The exam question in full. A magazine is running a competition to reward the best letters to teenagers of the future. Write the letter that you would enter for this competition. Time now to write the letter yourself. Off you go. Press pause now. Hopefully you've produced a cracker. However, you might be interested in seeing the first sentence of every paragraph within my model answer. Consider and discuss how the tone is created and think about how the initial idea might be developed in the rest of each paragraph. Go on then, press pause now. Now time to look at the model response as a whole. I write, dearest teenagers of the 22nd century. A voice from the distant past, namely the year 2025, salutes you. You are a part of an unknown future, part of a world which we can only partially and almost certainly unsuccessfully imagine. Yet, in spite of the decades between us, we share a surprising amount in common, including the number of years we have spent on this planet. So, what insight can I give into the early 21st century from my supposedly awkward, angst-ridden perspective as a teenager? And what nuggets of advice might I pass on to aid you in your voyage through life? Firstly, some caveats and apologies. A letter of this kind almost invariably lends itself to cliches and truisms. Yet, it is also worth pointing out that our perception of such things will vary depending on our perspective and life experience. What one person may dismiss as shallow and bleedingly obvious, another may embrace as insightful. So perhaps I should withdraw the previous apology. Read on if you dare. According to our parents, teenagers in 2025 have never had it so good. Apparently, we have freedoms and rights previous generations would have considered impossible. Via our smartphones, we can be in touch with anyone we choose within a nanosecond. Yet, such liberties are now at risk. For instance, all secondary schools in France have banned smartphones, and an increasing number of schools here in the United Kingdom are beginning to follow suit, jeopardizing precious online connections and experiences. How patronizing, how pathetic, how misguided. What most of our parents fail to understand is that our generation faces far more complex, nuanced challenges within our lives. For instance, it is ironic that today's teenagers are more cautious when it comes to sharing personal details on social media, whereas our parents rush to share intrusive pictures of us all in all kinds of embarrassing, compromising positions and situations, we are far more circumspect. Yes, we like to share, and yes, we like to gossip. But contrary to popular opinion, we post far less frequently than our addicted to Facebook parents and grandparents. This is because, whilst the online world is important to us, we have a better understanding of its pitfalls and its snares. To some extent, unlike older generations, we have to live online. But it isn't always easy when algorithms devised by the tech giants ferociously feed on our insecurities. So many of today's teenagers worry about their futures. Will the planet still be relatively habitable, or will we pay the price for previous generations' greed and selfish failure to act decisively in relation to climate change? To what extent will we be able to find satisfying, fairly paying jobs and, God forbid, raise sufficient capital to purchase a house or broom cupboard in London? However, I think that there remains sufficient grounds for optimism. For today's teenagers are street-savvy tough and know far more about the world than naive, idealistic previous generations. We genuinely understand the online world, and this in turn positions us well to take advantage of new opportunities, new challenges, new capabilities. So, what advice would I dish out to you wide-eyed teenagers of the future? Well, firstly, I would advise you to embrace every moment. Assuming that climate change isn't some highly elaborate conspiracy theory, your world is likely to be even more fragmented and fragile, with extreme weather increasingly causing devastation to more and more communities across the globe. So try not to worry about things outside your immediate control. Instead, enjoy those ever more present hot summer days with dreamy blue skies and wispy clouds. Soak in those sun rays. Warm your body and soul. Feel alive. Secondly, I would urge you not to take too much notice of parental negativity and doomsaying. So many parents try to live their lives through their children, all too conscious of past blunders and mishaps. Don't let them. Yes, show them respect and listen to them. After all, they probably do love you in their own ways. But never let them get in the way of your own creativity, ideas, and perspectives. After all, we teenagers are the future, or rather, you are. Good luck with your lives, and thank you for reading to the rest of my ramblings. Christian, age 16. Before we dissect this model response, a delightful interlude. Can you spot the glaring spelling errors within these 3 sentences on the screen? Press pause to get thinking. It's not ponting out, it's pointing. Whoopsie. Opportunities has double P. Conscious and conscience can be tricky to spell. For conscience, remember that it is science. Conscious follows the same initial pattern, C-O-N-S-C. Time for some genuine thinking and reflecting. How does this achieve full marks within the mark scheme? Well, as ever, the tone is appropriate for a letter for a magazine competition asking for letters to teenagers of the future. This kind of task requires slightly more informality. It would be far less effective to start off by saying, I'm writing to you to outline my views and perspectives as a teenager living in the early 21st century. Instead, note the direct address to the teenagers of the future in the use of the second person. A voice from the distant past salutes you. You are a part of an unknown future. Note also the use of the first person plural, which emphasizes the teenage connection across the ages, we share a surprising amount in common. Good writing engages. Good writing has variety. Within the second main paragraph, note the consistent variety in the way sentences begin. Note also that I'm keen to show the examiner my intelligence and my range of vocabulary, hence cliches and truisms. Notice the characteristically teenagery, cynical tone here, as seen in the use of quotations around "never had it so good," which implies that the writer may not share this view, and the adverb apparently at the beginning of the second sentence. Note also the fact that the writer implies that they have some specialist knowledge on the topic via the references to changes in secondary school rules, not just in the United Kingdom, but France too. In this section, we have an extended, spirited defence of teenagers and their relationship with mobile phones, aided by a comparison with their parents' use. Again, aim to show off your vocabulary, which should be precise and subtle, i.e. you shouldn't just use complex words just for the sake of it. They need to work within the context. Here, examples of this include nuanced, compromising, pitfalls, algorithms. It would be easy to be overly negative and fatalistic about climate change. However, this for me would result in a more depressing read. And why would you give advice to future teenagers if essentially you feel your own generation is screwed? Hence the positivity at the end of the paragraph, something stressed by the two dramatic short sentences for effect. New challenges, new capabilities. Always remember, these pieces of writing should be interesting, or at least try to be. Hence, rather than just using the pronoun you, I reference wide-eyed teenagers of the future, thus resulting in a more sophisticated tone. Remember that alliteration doesn't necessarily need to consist of consecutive words, and that it can be memorable in other text types such as a letter and not just in speeches. Your world is likely to be even more fragmented and fragile. Regular viewers of my channel will know that I cannot resist a single sentence short paragraph for effect. Don't let them, I urge melodramatically. This tiny paragraph helps to highlight the importance of teenagers taking responsibility for maintaining an independent, positive outlook on the world. I do sense that the letter of this type doesn't quite need the same formal sign-off as most other letters. However, I create a sense of finality through my offering future teenagers good luck and politely thanking them for reading. This has been a Schofield on Shakespeare production. Many thanks for watching.